Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Collaborative Show. I have lost count of the number of episodes that we've had till now. So, in case anybody wants to remind me which episode this is, please feel free to let us know in the comments. Along with that, it would also be nice if you could introduce yourself and let us know where you're joining from. So, today's guest speaker is Mr. Vinesh, and he's joining us from Australia. Hi, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for the warm welcome, and thanks for inviting me into this session. I think I talked with Darshan a couple of weeks back, and
Hmm,
this looked like a very interesting concept. Excited to see what I can share and how I can help people in this community. And like Pallavi said, please share where you're from, or if you have any questions, please shoot in the comments so that we can address at least a few of them during this session. So let's do
right.
this.
Okay. So, actually, before we begin, I would like to highlight that Vinesh is joining us from Australia, and we are soon planning to, develop these initiatives where we're going to collaborate with mentors and mentees from both Australia and Canada. So, these are two very exciting projects that are coming up. And Mr. Vinesh is also going to be here on Friday, I believe, with Miss Vandana, right?
Yep. So
Right.
I'll be
Okay.
back. You'll if you're bored of me, stay away.
Right. So, actually, no, I was thinking that this could probably be a trailer of what's coming up on Friday. And if there are any questions that are unanswered, or if somebody's watching the recorded version of this live show, they can probably ask you on Friday. That would be
Absolutely.
nice. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So, again, before we dive into the whole, question answer part of it, I'd just like to know a bit more about the kind of work that you've been doing because your journey is very essential to the career goal that you have. So, I know that you have been helping a lot of job seekers. Do you have a count of the number of people that you've helped?
Unfortunately, no. So, and the reason is, I I had no goal or I had no mission or vision when I started helping out people. I was just, a typical software developer, I would say, who does his job best when they are hiding behind a computer. I had no intention to talking to people, helping people, doing services or anything of that sort. I was not that kind of person. But
Right.
things changed. My journey changed, and uh, that 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 the journey that I took has changed me, and I just slowly started getting into this, helping people, doing it voluntarily, and then setting up something bigger. It's been about 2 years that I've been doing this.
Okay.
Just got bigger, and I don't have a
Right.
number. I'm not a business person. I don't keep Excel sheets, so I'm
Right.
sure I've inspired maybe thousands of people, but I don't keep track of it.
That's amazing. I mean, I actually wasn't expecting an answer for the number of people because I know that this is something that you're doing genuinely. So it's
Yeah,
out of goodwill and it's not something that you want to make a lot of money out of. I understand that, yeah, this probably is a source of income, but I also know that the intent behind it is more pure.
yeah,
So, yeah. So, like you shared, your journey from being a typical software guy to an atypical one. What else, keeps you motivated? You said that you inspire thousands of people, and I think that is a goal that all of us should have. So maybe a small act of kindness, and if that can impact even around 50 people, I think that's the kind of lifestyle that I'd like to have.
absolutely. And you won't believe it, but it's actually very easy to do that. Just
Right.
share your story. That's what I
Right.
say. There is at least 5 to 10 people who are
Mhm.
standing at a position where you were 5 years ago. If you can
Yeah.
share your story, it'll help those 5 to 10 people. It's as simple as that. That's where you start, right?
Mhm.
So everyone's journey is unique. Everyone, by sharing your story, you help those 5 to 10 people not to repeat the mistakes you did, thereby helping them to have a way better journey than you do. It's as simple as that. I mean, that's where I started. That's how I started as well, and it has
Mhm.
snowballed into something that it is today. But That is the beginning. Your journey, your struggles, your successes, whatever it is, share that first, and don't be selfish, don't be jealous, and keep all your wins and all your
Right.
miseries for
Yeah.
yourself. Even if it's miseries, don't keep it for yourself.
Mhm.
See, how you have grown, how you have what you've learned out of it, and make something out of
I agree. So I think that the best way of measuring your progress is to tell people your story. So, people from your past, they will actually come up with feedback like, I'm so proud that you're doing well. And
it.
remember when we were at this stage, now you're here. So that is an amazing progress. And just things like that. I have actually seen how sharing a simple story, or like you said, talking about one's struggles, not only does it, inspire the person, it also gives them the hope that, okay, somebody who is successful today was in a position where I was, and they're doing well now. So, even I can get out of this rut, and I can probably do well for myself.
And social media makes this tangible. As in,
Mhm.
I'll give you a story. I think
Sure.
I posted my first video on LinkedIn in October 2019. So that's about
Okay.
a year now. If you go
Mhm.
and watch that video, I was nervous. I was not looking at the camera. My sound was all jittery.
Yeah.
And it took me
Yeah.
almost 3 months of N number of recordings to put that out there. But
Okay.
after that, I have
Mm.
hosted a show at a local TV. I've gone live. I don't know, probably over 50 times on LinkedIn already.
Wow.
I'm coming live in this session. I have no problem in
Great.
talking on camera. So
Great.
if but that moment when I uploaded that video last October, that's the starting point for me. So whenever I think, okay, I'm not making some progress, I go back and check that video out. I know I've come a long way down, right? So social media actually
Mhm.
makes all this
Great.
tangible. Look at your post, say 1 year or 2 year back, and see how far you've come. So it's an easy
True.
way to benchmark yourself.
I think using social media as a way of documentation is great. So this is something that I do as well. I try to document, few of my best memories or some achievements, and I put it out there not for the world to see, but so that when I look back at it, I can see that, okay, this is how far I've come.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, I would like to go into the topic for our discussion today. How to overcome the challenges which are faced by international students. And I'm going to pick some very common questions that are mostly asked. If there is anything that is unanswered, or if somebody wants to ask another question, feel free to tune in on Friday. Okay. So, right. So, Vinesh, I was just thinking about when an Indian student, thinks about a career abroad, it's very lucrative, right? Everybody, I mean, most of the students, they want to settle abroad. They want to study there. They want to get a job there. But what are the things that an international student should keep in mind before they decide to migrate?
Step number one: do your research. Information is available in your hands today. I mean, you can literally pick it up and look up anything that you want. Do your
Mhm.
research. Talk to your friends, talk to your seniors, talk to people on LinkedIn. I mean, if you don't have anyone, right? It's very important to do your research, because most of the information you get
Mhm.
is usually not true, especially if that information is coming from a visa agent. This is what I've
Right.
heard. I've
Right.
I've
Right.
not I don't know
Mhm.
the reality behind it, but visa agents just want your money. that's
Mhm.
that's the unfortunate truth. And they just paint a rosy picture, saying, you just pay me the money, you get a visa, you go there,
Yeah.
and your life
Yeah.
is done.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, international students struggle a lot to to survive, to adapt to the culture, to get a job, and there are tons of struggles out here. No one tells you
Mhm.
about this, and that's one reason I actually started a YouTube series where international students share their story, as in how was their initial couple of years. So if you want, head on to my YouTube channel and you can check that out.
Sure.
So do your research, talk to people, and when people say, hey, think twice before coming here, because it's a dream for you, you would probably ignore that advice, but ask questions on it. As in, why do you think it is a bad decision, especially during this time? Migration,
Mhm.
countries like US or countries like Australia, do you is it worth migrating? I mean, even if you come
Right.
here, your courses might be online. Is it worth migrating? Is the cost worth it? Will I
Mhm.
get a job if I come there? Will I have work rights if I come there? And first of all, what is your goal? Do you just want to go into a different country and enjoy, or do you want to make a career out of it, or do you just want to get out of your home? And if you just want to
Right.
get out of your home, do you want to pay so much and go to countries like US or Australia? So figure things out. Don't just go with the flow. Don't just say, hey, because your brothers or cousins are going here and there. Don't
Yeah.
just do it for the sake of it. What is it you want? What is it? Do you want to make a good career? Do you want to just travel around the world? Do you want to?
Right.
What is it that is motivating you? In the end, it comes to you. Otherwise, if you like staying in India, if you like Indian
Mhm.
cuisine, if you like Indian culture, if you like the chaos in India, and if you're moving to a country like Canada because you
Mhm.
think the quality of life will be better, it won't be. You won't like the place. You won't like the empty streets, or the cold weather, or you won't like things
Yeah.
like that. So decide what is the motivation behind your move, why do you want it, and what is your goal, and stick to it. That is the first and
Mhm.
foremost step for you to think before migrating to
Right.
anywhere it is.
Right. I think that's a great answer because, personally speaking, so I too want to study abroad, international MBA to be specific. But to be honest, my motivation, one of the key motivators for me is that I want to travel. So I want to go around the world and see what's out there. And I mean,
Do you have to
during
spend
my
tens of thousands of dollars to travel? Right? You can just catch a flight and go, right? Why doing a study? I mean, that's the different perspectives that you have to take a look at.
true, true. Yeah, I could relate to that. So I just thought that I'll share a little
Yeah.
bit with
Yeah,
you.
yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people do. I mean, they don't think it through, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what you're getting something for free, so let's just
Mhm.
do it. It's not
Yeah.
that way. What is your goal? What do you want to achieve? And go for it.
Mhm.
It's very important to think that, especially because you're paying money in some foreign money, which is
Right.
huge when you convert it in India. What is the value you're
True,
getting out of
true.
it? I understand
Right.
sometimes people don't. If you're from a good, well-off family, you won't
Mhm.
think about the cost that is adding to
Yeah.
it. But think about it, is it really worth it? If, like, you're paying what,
Right.
50-60 lakhs, just as an example. If you put
Mhm.
that money in something else, would that give you what you want, rather than just doing this for the sake of it?
Yeah, very valid because, like you said, so these days most of the courses are online, and even if you've enrolled into a school that's abroad, you're still sitting at home. You're still sitting in India and attending those courses.
Yeah,
So I think it's very important to weigh the ROI when it comes to, what to just to analyze what the outcome would be.
yeah,
So I think for that we should definitely talk to people like you who are helping out international students.
yeah. I mean,
So you also,
just Google, take your phone, research. You
yeah,
have all the answers there, but you have to be curious. If
right,
you're just blinded by
right,
that dream, you won't see what's on the other side.
true, true. And I think the pandemic also, it has made all of us realize that we're all in the same boat. So it's not like we were discussing earlier before the session that it's not like the US is better than India, or one country is more superior than the other. When it comes to something like this, a global phenomenon, then we're all in the same boat. We all have to suffer and overcome this together.
See, this pandemic situation has put uh, uh, doubt in all migrants. For migrants,
Right.
something that was granted is you can fly back to India if there's an
Mhm.
emergency at any
Yeah.
point of time. We can't
Correct.
right now. No one can. No one can go back.
Mhm.
Even if someone near, your relative, your parents, if someone is sick, and I've
Yeah.
hearing so many heartbreaking stories where the parents are passed away and they still can't travel back to their country.
Right.
So
Right.
get your priorities straight. What is it that you want from migration? It's if you're in a different country, everything is different. You might not get your dosha or whatever it is in that country, right? Or you might not
Mhm.
get food culture, or you might not get your friends, your relatives, or whatever you have grown up
Yeah.
with in that country. So is it worth it, or is that what you want? If that is what you want, then definitely do it. But
Mhm.
is that what you want, or is that just peer pressure, or because everyone, all my neighbors are in
Yeah.
US, so I have to go to US? It doesn't work.
Right, right. So, Vinesh, that also makes me think that, okay, let's say there is an international student who has made up their mind that, yes, I do want to migrate, and for the right reasons. What should they be focusing on once they have successfully migrated? So, should they be focusing more on, let's say, increasing their savings by part-time jobs, or should they be, looking for things that, like, what are the working rights? What kind of visa do I need? Is there a job security or not?
So again, the pandemic situation has probably tipped the balance of this, but in general, this is my advice: stick to your goal. Um, if you've spent so much money getting here, I'm sure you still have some sort of investments or savings which you can burn over here. And yes, go ahead with part-time jobs because it kind of pays your bills and it will kind of make you sustainable. But don't be greedy on that point. When you're you're fresh graduate, you move to a different country, you start working part-time and you earn in dollars. It's very easy that you get greedy about it and you try to work, keep working, keep working, keep working. Hey, I'm making a lot of money, and when it's in dollars,
Yeah,
it's a different thing. You call back home and saying, hey, I just worked 1 hour and I made more money than you did, right? Things like that.
right. Yeah.
But just earn what you need to survive, because that's not why you're
Mhm.
here for. You're here to build a
Right.
career. In the end, you're here to work in something that you love. If you're I'm from Australia and I talk to a lot of
Mhm.
international students here, and
Mhm.
the number one struggle of most people is they get sucked into this vicious cycle, as in they work part-time, they get money,
Yeah.
and then they can't let go of it and they forget about why they came here in the first place.
First
And
place. Understood.
there'll be tons of obstacles, obviously. You don't have enough experience. All you have to work out what your goal is. So work out what your goal is, come here and stick to that, and please to find a bunch of friends who are aligned to that. Say if your roommate says, hey, let go of it, we'll just party, or we'll just
Mhm.
work part
Mhm.
time and do this, you are again losing on it, because when you're in a new
Right.
country, you don't know anyone. Your roommates or your friends or your college mates will become really important for you, so you wouldn't want to do anything that hurts them or goes against them. So that is also important. So focus on what is it that you want. Stick to that goal. Yes, you need money to survive. You can cover that from
Mhm.
your part-time jobs, but don't go into that vicious cycle. You have to work towards getting towards your goal. You have to make that step from day one. Actually, it's not like you
Right.
graduate and then you think about getting a job. That's not the
Mhm.
way it works. Most foreign countries, that's not the way it works. You have to start laying the foundations from, okay, not day one, month or two you enjoy, and after that, don't wait till
Right.
end of your graduation, right?
Yeah, that's a good advice. Thank you for that tip. So, like you were saying something about choosing the right kind of roommates because you don't know anyone in that country and you probably don't have a social circle the way you used to when you were back home. So, what should a person do in that case? If, they sometimes what happens is that students, they travel, they start the course, but they start feeling very lonely or they start feeling homesick and they don't know
Yeah.
how to deal with that. So, do you have any advice for them?
Again, I think your research will help a lot in that, right?
Mhm.
Link Internet has made the world a smaller place. You can find
Mhm.
someone from anywhere in the world and have a good connection with them.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's not always that the case. I mean, I remember a couple of years back, a dear friend of mine, suddenly messaged me saying that, hey, I'm going back to India. I can't do this anymore. And I completely did not understand, because when I met her, she was very fun. She was talking really good and she was ambitious. And when suddenly I
Right.
got a message like this, and it's like, okay, should I have done something to help her, or could I have done
Mhm.
something to help her, and things like that. But in the end, she's happy now. Just that she made the wrong decision at that point of time, and she came here,
Yeah.
and it did not work out for her. So realize that there is a huge cultural difference in whichever
Mhm.
country you travel to. Be ready for that. You won't get
Mhm.
your, especially if you're coming from India, it's very likely that you're spoon fed a lot. Food is on your table. Even if you go into uni, your teachers take a
Mhm.
stick and tell you, okay, you have to study this, you have to get the marks, you
Right.
have to do this, you have to do this. Your parents say you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. But in most developed
Mhm.
countries, no one is going to say that you have to do this.
Right.
Even I
Right.
think the way university works here, you have to come here and you have to pick the subjects that you're going to take in the next
Mhm.
semester or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that kind of thing, you'll be lost. You won't know what to do. You won't know how to deal with this. So be ready for this cultural change. You can't
True.
just sit at home and expect everyone to do things for here, and then at
Mhm.
the, a common thing, just as an example, what happens in Australia is, when some
Mhm.
people inquire me, hey, how is Australia for migration, they say, the first usual question that I get is Australia a racist country?
Yeah.
And this happens just because
That's a
they read a
common
few articles on
article.
global
Mhm.
media or whatever, and it's not that. I mean, I've never come across a incident that was racist in Australia.
Okay.
And
Okay.
keep in mind, wherever you go, that will always be there.
Mhm.
I don't have to tell you about India. If you go to North India or South India, if a North Indian comes to South India,
Mhm.
there will be something over there. If a South Indian goes to North India, there will be something over there. I'm not specifying on what it is. You
Right.
know
Right.
what it
Right.
is. And that is there all everywhere. So you have to adapt. So if you come from, say, India to Australia, and if you behave
Mhm.
like how India works, like, you take a bike and ride on the wrong side and this and this, and then someone
Yeah.
says, that Asian guy is just riding all
Mhm.
over, whose fault it is, right? It's that sort of thing. You have to be prepared of the cultural difference and be ready to adapt to it. I think I'm talking a lot, so I think I'm
No,
keeping
no,
check
that's
of
all
what it is.
right.
So let's have this conversation on.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. So, like they say that when you're in Rome, you should behave the way Romans do.
Yeah.
So there is a question that Garvit is asking. People say that abroad gives more chances to succeed. Is it true?
I'll give you a specific example compared to Australia. The
Hmm.
Australian market is probably not even as big as the market in Bangalore, the IT market.
Okay.
It's a very, very small market over here, and opportunities are really hard to come by. Getting a job
Okay.
in India is very easy. Trust me. Getting a job in Australia is not easy at all. And just as an example, Australia, you ask any software engineer who has migrated from India to Australia, the Australian technology is way behind compared to what it is in India.
Okay.
So
That's
India,
good to know.
India is way advanced. India is
Hmm.
actually way advanced, and you always say, the grass is always greener on the other side.
Right.
But the quality of life is completely different. That is something which
Mhm.
is completely different. So again, you have to do that homework and understand what works best for you. There are billion people, and there are billion different perspectives of what is it that
Okay.
they want.
True. True. Okay. So Nikita has a question. As many on-campus jobs are not there, how should international students get TA or RA as the competition rises to get it?
I'm sorry, what is TA or RA? Can someone fill me on
Teaching
that?
assistant or research assistant.
Okay.
So on-campus jobs.
Well, see, when it comes to teaching in a different country, it's even harder to get a job. I see a
Okay.
lot of Australians in that profession uh,
Mhm.
struggling to get a job here because there's a huge cultural difference. Just as an example, if a US citizen comes to India, would you give them a job in a college or a school, right? And that same thing happens over here too. Is it racism or is it unconscious bias? I don't know. But you have to adapt to the culture if you have to get into the industry. And professions like
Right.
these, where you're a teacher or when you're a health professional or
Yeah.
or when you are into sales or marketing, you
Mm-hmm.
have to understand what happens here. IT is different because IT, be in India, US, or Australia,
Is the
you do the
same.
same work in the end,
Right.
right?
Right.
But for others, you have to know how do you talk to people, for one.
Mhm.
What's your accent is not very important, but do you understand what they say? Do you
Right.
understand, for example, in Australia, lingos and shortcuts are short words, are there tons of lingos, for
Yeah.
example,
I'm aware.
arvo means afternoon.
Okay.
Aussies call Macca as McDonald's.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
there's so many shortcuts, and if you don't know that, you're like, okay, I can't have a conversation with this person, right? So
Mhm.
it's very important to adapt to that. But I'm not sure if that answers your question, Nikita. But I was just giving a brief on that.
If you don't mind, Vinesh, I'll just like to add on a bit to what you
Go
said.
for it.
So, like RNTA opportunities, I believe it's just, maybe two or three positions in one class. And the way to get it is, this is my opinion from what I know, that you have to work very closely with the mentors and the professors that are there in your college.
Yeah,
So, if your work is good, you will automatically be recognized for it. And then you can, probably propose that is it okay if I work as an RA, or could you just let me know how to work as a TA? Because
yeah.
different universities have a different way of applying for these opportunities. So I think it's very specific to
But
where you
yeah,
are.
I doubt the education industry is the right place to go right now because
Mhm.
um, in Australia, just as an example, the economy is really hit the education industry because we relied a lot on international students and there's zero intake right now.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
a lot of universities are cutting down. A lot of universities are cutting down on staff, on budget funds and everything. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, there is no light to an end to this. We don't know when it's
Yeah.
going to end or when it's going to come back. So we don't know what's going to happen.
True. Also what you said about the cultural differences. So I am a dentist, and when I went to this dental school in the US, I was so surprised to see the way that they function. Even though the profession is the same, the way they practice is so different because so in our dental schools, we have to come to the clinic or to the hospital every day, irrespective of whether we have a case or not. But in the US, they have the liberty of coming only when they have a case. So, that way they're very mindful of the time that is spent. In an Indian dental school, you may or may not have a productive day, but in the schools in the US, they allow them to use their time and work on other things as well. So
In
I'll
in,
just
in
pick up this.
Australia, if you're a dentist,
Yeah.
you're rich. Dentists are probably the most expensive services here in Australia.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
yeah.
Okay. I'll just pick up this one last question that Monis has asked. Doing bachelor's in India and going abroad for masters. How's the idea?
Again, what are you trying to achieve? Very, very important. Don't do it for the sake
Mhm.
of it. And if you can get a couple of years experience from India and then graduate and
Mhm.
then migrate, that will give you a huge advantage because being a fresh bachelor graduate and then coming here and doing a master's, you have zero industry experience. And when it comes to developed
Right.
countries, more than just a certificate, what you know
Mhm.
and what experience you have matters more, right? So I
Right.
people still find success over here, but if you can have a couple of years of experience and if your motivation is right, that is what will drive that decision.
Understood. So to summarize, I will just highlight the three key takeaways according to me. What you said was one thing was about being mindful of the cultural differences, accepting that there would be a lot of differences and it can come as a cultural shock. The second thing is to be very particular about what your goal is and sticking to it. Not changing it because of somebody else, which brings me to the third key takeaway, which is that it doesn't matter what the society around you is doing, and we should not give in to peer pressure because this is our career and the career goals have to be set by us.
This is your journey. You drive it. Yes, unfortunately, in a country like India, we have a lot of social pressure, a lot of pressure from
Right.
parents, and you might not always be on a driver's seat. But in the end, it's your life. The journey is yours, and it's very important that you make it you make it yours. Otherwise, you'll always feel like a passenger in a Uber, which is something that you always don't want. You don't get to go where you want to, right? So it's very important that you choose for yourself.
Okay, I think that's a great note to end this session on. And we will be talking to you again on Friday. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Let's meet soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.